The Shobolome Forest was ragged, isolated, and beautiful. At that time of the year, the days were long, warm, and clear, the night cold and crisp with a wide, star-strewn sky. Katie, Jojo, and I had been planning the holiday for over a year. We had intended a 4-week trip consisting of 7 days intense hiking along the Deep Knee Trail to our camp at the pristine waterfall, where we'd enjoy 2 weeks leisurely camping, swimming, barbecue, and even drinking, then a chilled 10-day hike back to civilization. I was the only one of us with any hiking experience, as both my parents were avid hikers, and we'd hiked all over the country together. I felt confident that this would be a safe and fun trip that we'd never forget. The Shobolone Forest had had a bad reputation, as 5 hikers over the last 8 years had gone missing without a trace. Instead of dissuading us from going, this added to its dark allure and mystery. The hike-in was easy going. The only complaints are about sore muscles from the heavy packs. The trail occasionally met the river, gifting us incredible views and a cooling breeze. We made good time arriving at the camp in the late afternoon on the Sunday. We all pitched in, setting up what would be our home sweet home for the next 2 weeks. Sunset found us relaxing by the fire, spirits high and having achieved so much in the last 8 days. Over barbecue and beers, we excitedly discussed our plans for the coming days. Jojo and I got up early to watch the sunrise from an elevated outcrop, while Pat and Katie slept off their sore heads. We didn't say a word, just enjoyed the moment of freedom detached from our hectic lives in the city, which then seemed 1,000 miles away. The rest of the day we spent swimming and relaxing at the basin of the waterfall. Katie, being a photographer, spent hours snapping pics of our stunning surroundings. Patrick had brought a book to while away the lazy days. Night found us gathered by the fire with a simple meal, some quiet drinks, and comfortable conversation. Both Jojo and I decided to turn in early, wanting to attend another spectacular sunrise. It was a bitterly cold night, and it was cold enough to even force me to sleep in my clothes. Despite this, it did not take too long for me to fall asleep. I awoke some time later to Patrick yelling and the sounds of a struggle. I urgently rushed out of the tent. The fire was still high, which makes me think that very little time had passed. A stench almost knocked me backwards. It smelled like pungent wet dog, and it was terrible and sickening. I heard whimpering and a low growl from the other side of the fire. Looking up, look, I really don't know how to describe it. I don't believe it myself. It was huge, 7 feet tall and covered in hair. Its arms were strong, and at the ends were massive claws. It was holding Pat in its vice-like grip. It held him so his feet were off the ground so easily, like he weighed nothing at all. A growl was emanating from its head. Saliva ran from its jaws. It had the head of a wolf. Oh my God, I must be mad, I thought. That's when it lunged its huge jaws and jagged teeth at Patrick's face. There was a loud crunch and I was off, running. My feet were moving before I knew what was happening. I was not running in any particular direction. I was just running away for my life. I had only starlight to stop me from crashing into trees or down the ditches. I ran wildly. I ran urgently, and when I felt I could not run any more, I still ran. Only the sounds of screaming accompanied me. The screaming went on and then suddenly stopped. As the light of the day started filtering through the trees, I stumbled across the track. I don't know how I'd been heading in the right direction all along. I slowed to a jog and traversed the track back the way we'd come. Over the days, my jog became a shambling kind of stumble, but I kept going. At times, it got bitterly cold and dark, but I staggered on. Luckily, there were 2 trail mix bars that I'd forgotten about in my pocket. I lived on them and water from the river that sometimes presented itself on the side of the trail. I didn't sleep and I didn't waver in my desperate escape from the forest. I'm not sure how long I'd been running before I ran into the other hikers. I almost walked right past them. I was in such a daze. The lady asked if I was okay. I blinked at her, seeing her for the first time, and crumbled to the ground. "Please help me," I whispered, my throat sore and swollen. "My friends are dead. It killed them." The man looked at me like I was insane. He reached for the arm of the woman as if to lead her away, but looked at me again. He had second thoughts. He said, "Son, where are your friends at?" As unconsciousness overtook me, I was only able to reply, "They're dead," and waterfall. I awoke in the hospital. They told me I'd been unconscious for 3 days. It was due to exhaustion and exposure. I'd run myself to complete exhaustion. As soon as the hospital released me, I was taken to the police station for questioning. It was at this time I was made aware that my friends' bodies had been located. I spent hours telling them what had happened, knowing I sounded like a madman. Eventually, they told me that they knew that I had killed my friends. A bloody knife was found at the scene where I was asked about how surely the pictures of the bodies they presented did not look like a knife attack. They said after the murders there'd been animals scavenging at the scene, and this was not uncommon. When I questioned why I did not have any blood on me or why my prints were not on the knife, they easily explained that away to me. I was psychologically tested, and they reported that I was delusional but not insane, and I was fit to stand trial. So now here I am, doing life for a crime I didn't even commit. I've resigned myself to my fate. This is my punishment for being a coward, for running when you could have fought. I only ask for one thing, my purpose for this tale. Please never venture into the Shobolome Forest.